Hello YouTube, welcome to the garage. Back to working on the 2007 Toyota Camry, about to finish it up. Did all the parts changing. I did get a battery in it, and I was originally told this was a low mileage car. Well, I got the battery in it, and this is over a 200,000 mile car, which actually explains some of the things that I had actually run across. But be that as it may, it was just parts changing, and the last thing I had to do is one of the drive axles was taken out of it, and it had two new drive axles for it, so I replaced all those, and I had the filter kit for it and wanted to change that. Okay, and of course when the drive axle was taken out, the one I didn't take the first one out, and some fluid came out, and I have no idea how much. But then I took it apart, and then when I drained the pan, I got 3 more quarts of transmission fluid out of it. Okay, so I'm going to put a new filter and seal in it and fill it back up. Well, therein lies the problem. Okay, a lot of manufacturers are making the transmission sealed, and there's no dipstick, and there's a procedure to fill and check the level. So I did some research. So I agreed to fix this car, and I couldn't just tell them I got to this point, well, you're gonna have to take it to the dealer to finish it. Well, I couldn't do that. So I did some research, and I found out, sorry about that. I found out there are actually 2 different ways of checking the fluid level in this this Camry. This is for the 2007 through 2011 Camrys, or the ones that have this ASIN 6-speed transmission. The procedure will be the same. Just for this those model years, so be very specific. So I said there's 2 different ways, and one's kind of an unofficial way, and then there's the official, which I'll cover both of them. The official one comes with a 12-page technical service bulletin on how to do it. Okay, and I'm going to go through that in detail, but first what I'm going to do is explain to you the quote-unquote unofficial way. Okay, one thing about transmission fluid, got to do a little teaching here to get everybody up to speed. Transmission fluid expands when it gets hotter. As it heats up, it expands. Okay, so obviously the fluid level will change. Unlike motor oil, you can check the motor oil when it's cold, and then when if it's hot, you'll wait a few minutes for all the oil to drain down in the pan, and you can check it with the dipstick, and you will get an accurate reading because the motor oil doesn't expand like transmission fluid does. Okay, so in transmission fluid expands considerably as it warms up. Okay, well, as far as in this transmission, see this little red, this is a straw. Okay, and this is what this measures is the level of the fluid when the transmission is at between 104 and 113 degrees. Okay, normal operating temperature is above 185, but so in order to check this, you have to check it as it's warming up. Okay, and the way you do that is there's that straw there, but there's also this drain plug. Okay, takes a 6mm Allen key to take that out. All right, and if you take this out, it's on the car, some fluid will run out, but you can't drain all of the fluid out. In order to drain the fluid, you have to take the same 6mm Allen and this will unscrew. This little straw will unscrew. Okay? Alright, and these straws are all the same length. I measure, I can't remember what it is, but it's irrelevant. But this measures the fluid level between 104 and 113 degrees. Anything above that, it will be inaccurate. And it also has to be at curb idle, between 600 and 700 RPM. Okay, and in order to do that, there's several videos out there, and people have different, ideas of how to do this. So, so I actually don't need to put this back in. All right, there's several different ways. So, in order to do this, you have to know what the engine RPM is, and then you also have to know the transmission fluid temperature. And one of the, actually, in my humble opinion, the best way to do this is with some type of a scan tool. All right, there's some guys online that show how they use like just a thermometer, and with the fluid dripping out of it, because as the fluid gets warmer, it expands and it'll start dripping out of here. And what you want is, if you're checking it this way, at curb idle, in whatever way you're checking the temperature of the fluid, between 104 and 113, you should just have fluid just dripping out of here. As soon as you get between that range, you put this plug back in, and you're done. Okay, but again, you have to have some way to check the temperature. So some guys use a thermometer, and you're having over 100-degree transmission fluid drip on you, which probably wouldn't be fun. You see infrared thermometers to read this, however you want to check the temperature. But I personally believe that the most accurate way would be to read it from the vehicle itself. You would need some type of a scan tool, and I've got a couple of videos where I compared the top scan dongle, and also the Think Diag 2 dongle, and also the X-Tool X30M. There's other, these are actual bidirectional diagnostic tools. Okay, and you run it off either your cell phone, Android or iPhone, or you can run it off a tablet. But again, in my opinion, if you should read it from the temperature sensor inside the transmission. The only way to do that would be a scan tool, and that was dongles, but I have my Think Tool Platinum S10 Pro, actual scan tool, and that's what I'm going to be using. And I'm going to demonstrate some. Actually, I'm going to demonstrate the official by the technical service bulletin how you're supposed to check it. But I just wanted to show you that there is another way to check this. And again, just to kind of recap, you take the plug out with it running, the vehicle has to be running, and however you're going to check the temperature, whether it's thermometer or infrared, or use some type of a scan tool device. When it gets between 104 and 113 degrees, you should just have a little bit of fluid dripping out of here. It's going to keep dripping because the more it heats up, the more the fluid's going to expand, and it's going to keep dripping out. But you don't want it, if it's running out, there was too much in it, but once it gets to a drip, that's what you want. You just want a drip of the fluid coming out of the bottom between 104 and 113 degrees, and put this plug back in, and you're done. But let's say you're going along and it gets up to 104 degrees and you don't have anything coming out of here yet, and it's going and going and going. It means it's too low. But the window between 104 and 113 degrees is pretty small, and it's going to be heating up awful quick. And and I'll show you where you add fluid in this thing. So I'm going to demonstrate the official way to check this. but I'll show you where you put fluid in. But if you get this over 104 and nothing's dripping out, and you start trying to add cold fluid to this thing, it's just going to skew the entire thing. You're going to have to stop, shut it down, put the plug back in, shut it down, add some fluid, and you're going to have to let this thing cool down until it's just bone cold, probably the next day, and do the same thing. My suggestion would be to put a little extra in, and then once once it's running and you take the plug out, you might get some to run out pretty fast, but as it's warming up, it'll run out, and between 104 and 113, it should be just dripping. And put your plug back in, and you're done. Okay, but I personally, so I've been doing wrenching for over 4 years, and I'm used to checking transmission fluid idling on a flat level surface at normal operating temperature. And just my opinion, I think that is be the most accurate. But this is a way to do it, and this doesn't require any kind of fancy equipment and stuff like that. So, but as far as how this works, I think that's pretty much it. But if you have any questions, put them in the comments. I'll be glad to answer them. But as far as this is the unofficial way to check it. All right, what I'm going to do now is I am going to go through the process of how to check it officially. So let me pause you just for a second. I want to grab the technical service bulletin, and I've got some printouts that I kind of want to show you. I'll be right back. Okay, I'm back. So I'm just going to go through some paperwork here and show you a couple pictures of different pieces of equipment you need. But what I'm going to do is go through how this technical service bulletin describes the procedure. Like I said, this is a 12-page bulletin of how to just check transmission fluid level. Okay. And here, let me show you the equipment that it says you need. All right. So, I'm trying to look through the camera, make sure I can show you everything. There's this little kit, and I'll show you the individual pieces of it. There's this kit that's got this is an adjustable straw, that red straw that I showed you inside the oil pan. I put the pan back up on the transmission just to show for demonstration purposes, to show you how this works. Okay, but it has this adjustable straw, and again I'll explain how it goes in there. As opposed to that little short orange thing that's in there. And this here is for the hook tube where you fill it, and you can either extract fluid or add fluid to it. This is a vacuum gauge, and then it also has, okay, so it has these pieces of, in $600 just for this, okay? Then this is the, the fill system, what they want you to use to put fluid in the thing. It's almost $500 right there, okay? Then there's also, this is a vacuum canister, okay? Because in order to work, when you do your testing here, you have to be able to put the transmission under a vacuum. A 2 to 5 inches of mercury vacuum needs to be pulled on this transmission during the procedure. And I'll show you exactly how that works. But so you need this, it's a little over about 120 bucks. But this works off of, you have to have shop air. It works on a Venturi effect. You put air pressure to it, and that's how it draws a vacuum. So you're going to have a some sort of a source of compressed air. And what, $300-400 from Harbor Freight, you can get an air compressor. But you need more than just what I've shown you here. So you need a source of compressed air. So how much ever that is. So it's like you're talking at least $1,200 just for this these things here, just for these parts here to check the level, the transmission fluid level in this thing. So you got $1,200 here. How much ever for a compressor? And but this is the way they explain it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take you off the stand here, and I'm going to explain to you how all of these work, and how you put them on, and then the actual procedure of how to do it. So let me pause you and get you off the stand, and let's talk about the procedure. Okay, all right, I'm at the car, and I'm going to show you the little handout, hopefully. Okay, the first piece, it goes to the fill hole on the side of the transmission. This is behind the driver's side wheel. You don't have to take the wheel off, you can just turn it to reach it, and two 10mm screws, but this is the fill plug for it. It has WS on it, and that stands for world standard. It's a type of fluid. It takes a 24mm or 15/16. Obviously I already loosened it, but okay, you would take this off, okay, and the hose, this hose right here, the top there, screws into that hole there, okay? All right, that's one. All right, then you got the vacuum gauge. All right, so you got your hose on there, then it shows you, there's the hose you screw onto the fill, and then there's the, hope you can see that vacuum gauge assembly, okay, and that, there's a quick disconnect, it hooks it on there, and that's a vacuum gauge, so you can read your 3 to 5 inches of mercury vacuum, okay? All right, and then once you get that, there's this. Okay, so you got your thing hooked to the where you fill the transmission, then you got your vacuum gauge, then you got this little valve here, and what that valve does is hooked to that canister that's sitting on the floor in this picture. That's the vacuum canister, and to that is where you hook the shop air to provide the Venturi effect, which will draw the vacuum, and so you have to make sure that it's 3 to 5 inches of mercury vacuum. Okay, all right. Then what you want to do is, with the car running, and you turn the vacuum on. Okay, let's say, before you take the drain plug out, you have to, and the drain plug right there. Before you take that out, you have to draw the transmission into a vacuum, and also you do this when it's running. So if it's not running, you take that out, fluid's going to run out, and actually also, even if it is running, fluid will still run out when you take that plug out of there. That's why you have to draw it into a vacuum. Okay, so okay, then once you draw it into a vacuum, you take that plug out. As I showed you earlier, that straw, you could take it out with the same 6mm hex, but you don't take that out. With the engine running and it under vacuum, you take that plug out. Then that adjustable straw thing I told you about. Okay, with it under vacuum, you take that plug out. Okay, under vacuum, or else you lose your fluid. Then you screw this in. Okay. Then once you get that screwed in there, there's a picture of it installed. Once you get that screwed in there, then you turn the vacuum off. Okay, now just to recap, the engine's running, and you're waiting for it to get up to operating temperature. But what you've done is you put the transmission under a vacuum, so you could take the plug out, and so you can install this little measuring device here, this adjustable straw. Okay. All right, and then what you do is you look up what kind of vehicle you have. Okay, we have the Camry with a 6-speed transmission. All right, and as you see here, it has to be in the normal operating temperature between 185 and 194. Then you look at engine idle speed, 600 to 700 RPM, or 700 to 800 RPM. And what it does, it shows you in millimeters what to set that adjustable straw at. And it has a collar on it. That collar right there, and it's got a little thumb screw. There's graduations on it, measured in millimeters, and you adjust it to the bottom of that, whichever millimeter, how many millimeters you want. You read it at the bottom of that, not the top. You read it at the bottom, and you can't see the graduations from here, but I guess you can a little bit. I don't know. Can you see? It's got millimeters, but you use the bottom of that collar to adjust it. Okay. All right. So we're back to what do we need? Okay, we got our 6-speed transmission here, and if it's between 600 and 700 RPM, it's 75.5 millimeters is the level, and if it's 700, 800, it's 72 millimeters. Obviously, as the RPMs increase, the transmission sucks a little more fluid out of the pan. But the difference between 72 millimeters and 75.5 millimeters as far as the level, in that pan, it would be just the volume in that pan, which is not that big, is negligible, in my humble opinion. So they're splitting hairs here. I know it has to be accurate, but they're splitting hairs. But you set that adjustable straw at whatever the level matches the temperature and the RPM. All right, and like this one is 75.5. So what you do is, as you're watching, your scan tool, you need a scan tool, and make sure it's between 600 and 700 RPM, and that you're between 185 and 194. All right, so once you get it there, let's say when you have that adjustable straw in there, it's the same as using the plastic straw when it's warming up. It has to just be dripping a little bit. Okay, and that's when if you're using the other method, if it's between that temperature range and it's just dripping a little bit, you put the plug in and you're done. Okay, now as far as what we're doing here, we're measuring it at operating temperature, idling, flat level surface, just like you always have with a dipstick. Only you got to use this procedure, and once it is at the the correct level, you have that adjustable straw in there, and and you've either added fluid, if you had to add fluid, and if you just have it dripping a little bit. Once you're done, you can't just take that straw out. You have to put it under a vacuum. Okay, and so you put it under a vacuum to take this plug out originally. Then you put your adjustable straw in there. You turn the vacuum off. Again, engine idling, operating temperature, and it's idling, and then you put your straw, the adjustable straw, set it for whatever whatever measurement yours calls for, and once you get it there, once it's normal operating temperature, it's in the correct RPM range, and you just have a little bit of fluid dripping out of there, it's at the level it needs to be. But you're stuck because you can't just pull that that adjustable straw out. You have to put it under vacuum, and once you put it under vacuum, you can take that straw out, and then you just put the plug back in, and you're done. But the manufacturers are making this so complicated. Think about this. Okay, you've got the adjustable straw set at the proper length, and you have just a little bit dripping out, right temperature, right RPM, and the only reason you have to do that under vacuum is because you have to pull that adjustable straw out. If the straw that is in there was set at the correct level, if that straw was 75.5 millimeters All you would have to do is add fluid until it was dripping out of there just a little bit at the right temperature and right RPM, then you put the plug back in it. You would not have to suck it into vacuum to take that stupid straw out of there. It is ridiculous. And that is intentional. You have to, buy close to $2,000 worth of equipment, because, well, as I said, about $1,800 for the equipment, but then you also need a scan tool for a few $100s. Mine was $1,800 for my Platinum S10 Pro, so you're well over $2,000 just to check the transmission fluid in this stupid thing. And the only thing you would have to do is put a straw in there. It's not like the level changes on this stupid thing as you drive it. It needs 75.5 millimeters of fluid at between 600 and 700 RPM. That's ridiculous that you have to go through all this. Like I said, the straw length does not change. It is a set value for whatever transmission you have. Put the correct length straw in there and you wouldn't have to do this. And in addition to that, okay, they say, the 600 to 700 RPM and such, the 85 to, 185 to 194 temperature. Well, as I was doing my research over the weekend, I found it's a Weber Auto. It's got it's a tech school, and it's got they put up a bunch of videos on things. And there's a gentleman there that is their transmission guy, and I watched his video several times over the weekend to make sure that I understood exactly how this worked. And the one thing that he said something that really caught my attention. He had the the vehicle up on the lift, running. And he demonstrated how to do this procedure exactly, word for word off of the TSB. But like I said, he said something. He said that he had the car up on the lift for several hours running, and it never went out of the normal temperature range, 185 to 194. Well, duh. I mean, that's why it's got fans on it. That's why it's got a thermostat on it. And the fans cycle on and off. If it doesn't stay in the normal temperature range, there's something wrong with it, and you need to fix it. Okay? So that means, if everything's running normal, you don't need a scan tool to see what temperature it is. Just normal operating temp. If it's sitting there running, idling, fans cycling on and off, it's not overheating, then it's going to be in that range. And also, as far as that, the idle, if it's not at curb idle, if it's too high, fix the stupid thing. So it will always be at curb idle. If everything's running right, it'll be at curb idle, and it'll always be between in the normal operating range. And so what you do is you just to check the fluid, take the plug out of it. If nothing comes out, add fluid until it starts dripping out. Again, while it's at normal operating temperature idling. And if there's too much fluid in it, you take the plug out. It's going to run out until it just starts dripping, and then it's going to be, at the right level. There's no way you could get it wrong. And all of this crap is just because, they want you to take it to the dealer or buy a new one. You have to spend all that money, and have all that equipment just to check the fluid level in this. That's intentional. They all do it. There's modules on the cars that, I can't access with my scan tool. Even if I had, Snap-on Zeus with all everything that goes with it, it's about $30,000. There are still modules that you cannot access. Okay, it's just dealership only. You have to take it to the dealer because it's a proprietary thing from the manufacturer, and you can't have access to it. So my school of thought is, if you can't check the transmission fluid on your vehicle, or if there's modules you can't check on it, do you really own the car? If you have to take it back to a dealership to fix the stupid thing because they won't let you fix it, do you own it? You pay tens of thousands of dollars for these things, and you can't work on them. I'm a firm advocate in the right to repair. I spend all that money on this thing. I should be able to work on it. If I choose to take it to the dealer, well, that's me. But if I want to fix it myself, I should be able to. They are designing these so you cannot do it. They will not let you do it. Unless, in this case, you have to spend a few $1,000s, just to check the transmission fluid. And that's just ridiculous. I'm sorry, I get triggered at this. The longer I'm in the business, the more they do it. And, it's just wrong, okay? Be that as it may, sorry for the rant, but you spend all that money for a car. If you want to work on it, you should be able to. I mean, you should be able to at least do, preventative maintenance, check fluid levels, but no, they won't let you do that. Okay, well, I think that's enough ranting for now, and I've kind of explained how this thing works. And what I'm going to do next is, I actually, I figured a way around all of this. And so let me pause the video, and I'm going to, set up my little demonstration, and I'm going to show you what I did, so so you won't need all of this crap. I'll be right back. Okay, I took the oil pan back off, and I said, this straw is too short. It needs to be, for this application, 75.5 millimeters. Okay, what I decided to do, little piece of, you see it? Little piece of silicone tubing. Okay. Oop. You see it? Silicone tubing on there. Okay. Oh, I didn't take the plug out. My bad. My bad. You take the plug out because this measures clear to the bottom of the pan. Hear that? You can see it. I don't know if I had the right light, but 75.5. It's just touching the top of that tube. It's touching the bottom, actually the top of the table with this pan level. So all I got to do is that operating temperature. Make sure there's a little, just a little bit of fluid dripping out of the bottom of that, and put the plug back in. And again, like I said, I'm gonna make another video. I'm gonna actually fill this, put this all back together, fill the transmission up, and I'm gonna test, check the level, using this method, and I'll have my scan tool hooked to it and all that kind of stuff. But I'm gonna, once I get it to where it's just dripping out of here, I'm at normal operating temperature, idling and stuff like that. When I was just dripping out of here, that'll be at the 75. This is the equivalent of using that adjustable straw and adjust it to 75.5. This is the level it would be at. But the only reason I have to draw this in a vacuum with that level is so the fluid doesn't run out. And this level doesn't change. For this transmission, this is what it's supposed to be at. And I don't, listen, as long as everything's operating correctly, I don't need a scan tool. I just, until, at normal operating temperature, put fluid in it till I just have a little bit dripping out, put the plug back in it, and down the road you go. There's no need for any of that, so this is on purpose. I'll tell you, it's just ridiculous. But I use silicone tubing, so the temperature is not going to affect it. This is 5/16 ID silicone tubing, slid right on there, and it's on there plenty tight. It's not going to come off. It's not going to interfere with any, of the apparatus in the transmission. I checked it. There's plenty of room. It's not going to bump into anything. So this, if you find out what the level is, and use your whatever measuring tool you can, like I did, and set it at the temperature, the height, or whatever the paperwork says over there, and then normal operating temperature, fill it so it's dripping out. I showed you where the fill hole is until it's just dripping out, and then put the plug back in it, and down the road you go. There's no need for all that, and but sorry about the rant, but it just makes me mad. You spend a lot of money, and you can't even check the transmission fluid level. Really? All right. Well, like I said, I'm going to end this video now, and I'm going to put put the thing back together, put the new filters, all that kind of stuff, put it all back together, fluid, and then I'm going to show you me, you're just warming it up, testing it, make sure that it's at the right level, and just kind of demonstrate that. But that's the procedure. I showed the unofficial, and then this is the official according to 12-page bulletin how they want you to do it. All right, so I'm gonna that's I'll end the video here. Do me a favor, like and subscribe, and I will see you in the next video where I actually fill this thing up and show you how I test it. Doing the fluid level check here. Got my scan tool going. The temperature of the transmission is 185. The coolant temperature is cycling. The cooling fans are cycling on and off. RPMs are holding in the low 700s, nice and steady. When I first opened the drain plug there, I got some fluid that came out a little bit, and now it was every once in a while get one little drop of fluid that comes out, and that's what they call for. When I initially took the plug out, I had overfilled a little bit, and as just a little bit ran out. And when I first opened it, and as it warmed up, a little bit would drip out, and as it got warmer and warmer, I wanted to have it a little overfilled to kind of see the concept of it expanding and dripping out. And now it just got a little bit of drip there. I just missed it. As it heats up, a little bit of fluid comes out, and this has been holding like right around 100. Excuse me, get the light out of your eyes. Well, 185, and then all we got to do is put this plug back in. Wanted you to do it was to put the transmission under vacuum so you could pull that adjustable straw out of there. And I have the straw the right length, with the right temperature, right RPM, and they said the straw is at the correct length, and all I do is put the plug back in. I didn't have to pull it into a vacuum, remove the adjustable straw, and then put the plug in to keep any fluid from running out. So just a little proof of concept. It looks like it works.